If you're a business in the state of Michigan, you might be one of those who are kind of discussing, candidly maybe, some apprehensions toward a certain legislative proposals, viewing these proposals as somehow stifling your own business and your overall growth within your company. Kevin, I think a lot of people are looking at what the Democrats are doing now in the State House and the Senate and very concerned about what's going to happen to business enterprise in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, elections have consequences, Tom. The Democrats have all the power, so they can create all of the policy they want. And there are concerns about their economic policies. Many fear potential negative impacts on businesses and the state's effort to reduce this population decline we've been talking about. Let's bring in Mike Johnston, Executive Vice President of Government Affairs and Workforce Development for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Tom.
We talk about how things are moving fast in Lansing. Governor Whitmer has said she wants to put the pedal to the metal. The Democrats have control of both houses for the first time in 40 years. Are they moving pedal to the metal, and is it having an impact?
Yeah, there's a really accelerated pace. There's some risk that there are two House Democrats who are running for local office, and so they may end session by the end of early November. So there's a real push to push some of their big priorities, which we have serious concerns about.
What are some of the issues that you're worried about? I know people talk about a 15-week family and medical paid leave. They talk about clean energy mandates. They talk about changing the definition of independent contractors. How do these policies, if enacted, how do they impact the economy here in Michigan?
Yeah, each one of these ideas will negatively impact Michigan's business climate and our ability to compete in the global economy. If you think about the manufacturers, we compete from our Michigan location in a global economy, which means we have to compete with the lowest cost location anywhere in the world. And things like energy policy that would mandate 100% renewables in the energy portfolio standard for a manufacturing economy is really devastating in terms of even talking about whether we're going to have reliable, low-cost power here in Michigan.
Yeah, describe this coalition that has been formed because of this apprehension, great concern about policies that may be forthcoming here. Great Lakes Growth. What is Great Lakes Growth? What is the ultimate purpose of it?
Yeah, we've come together partly because, as you described, the pace of legislation and the magnitude of things that will negatively impact our competitiveness. And so we've come together with the Detroit Regional Chamber, the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce, and the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and, of course, also the Michigan Manufacturers Association, but also reaching out to local chambers all over the state to help communicate publicly to say, look, this is bad stuff for the future of Michigan. We need to be competitive, or else we won't be able to, as you talked about, maintain population and be competitive and to employ people in this state.
We just spoke with Eric Lufer. He's the president of the Citizens Research Council. We asked him about the regulatory environment for companies in Michigan. He says, we have a very lax regulatory environment, very lax tax implications on businesses. You don't necessarily seem to agree with that. You think we're in a pretty precarious situation when it comes to this rapid adaptation of these new regulations.
Oh, I think all of these things threaten Michigan's economy. If we allow local units of government to set labor standards, whether it's a wage rate or have workers in a certain community who only work 32 hours a week, or mandate paid leave at the local level, that local decisions will damage Michigan's business climate. For any company thinking about looking at Michigan, they'll say, look, it's really unstable and uncertain whether something as fundamental as labor standards would change after we make $1 billion investment. So that's a level of uncertainty that will just damage Michigan's business climate going forward, not just attracting new, but those sitting here trying to compete for a Michigan location. If they're at risk of, the fundamental, wage levels changing on a community basis, one small group of people on a community board can change their global competitiveness, and we think all those decisions ought to be made at the state level.
Typically, business has a pretty loud voice in Lansing. Are the Democrats listening? Are they paying attention? Or are they saying, look, we have this very rare opportunity to pass whatever we want to pass, and we're not going to listen to anyone. We're going to just do what we want to do.
Yeah, the Democrats have a trifecta for the first time in 40 years, so they've got a lot of pent-up demand to push ideas, and they're pushing some of the most progressive ideas from around the country that try to do it here in Michigan. As you know, there's this long trend to say, if you can change something at a state level, then maybe you can change it nationally, and they see Michigan as a prime target with the Democratic trifecta. So we're working extra hard to make sure people are paying attention to our competitiveness as a state. I mean, we're in a precarious time coming out of COVID. We have a fragile supply chain. We're making transitions into EV. You know, if you fundamentally make Michigan uncompetitive, that'll be devastating for a big manufacturing state like Michigan.
Yeah, and then you've got, I want to go back to the unions a little bit, because there is a real strong trend towards almost union dominance, and the union leaders will say, yeah, that's exactly what we want. We want to continually gain more and more power so we can make these types of decisions. And I know one of these bills that are going forward with the Democratic legislature is that it gives unions a right to determine, minimum staffing levels. I know this is the public sector, but that kind of say from a union on who gets hired, how many employees need to be employed by a variety of industries. How concerning is that to you? And is that just going to push corporations out of the state?
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that Michigan is in competition every single day with companies in every other state and the regulatory structures from other states, but more importantly, every location anywhere in the world. If we aren't competing on our regulatory environment and our business climate here in Michigan, companies in Michigan have two options. One, you either close or you move to a location for where you can compete. So, to think that we can just create an ideal world here in Michigan that doesn't focus as a primary goal on our competitiveness, it's just a fundamental misdirection for Michigan.
This early adjournment, it could be a real problem, because you need to thoroughly review and discuss these policies before they're voted on. Are you concerned that they're going to just stack a bunch of these up against the clock and then just rush them through at the last minute before the adjournment without really getting much debate on it?
Yeah, there's clearly a rush to move these policies, and we think a little bit more debate, in fact, a lot more debate, will reveal the true impacts on the Michigan economy. Like the idea to have 15 weeks of paid leave sounds lovely out of the gate, but that's a $1.5 billion tax increase. Half it would go on companies, and half it would go on workers. I'm not sure the working population knows that there's a huge tax coming down the pipe focused on them. So, I mean, if you're talking about a $750 million tax increase on individuals, we should probably have some debate about that.
This whole idea of reclassifying independent contractors, how do they feel about this? Because I would know some on both sides of this issue. I know independent contractors who want to remain independent. What's the general consensus here?
Yeah, I mean, the independent contractors are a critical component to our competitiveness. So in terms of hiring marketing firms or IT specialists or even laundry services for a manufacturer, that helps us be more competitive at a low cost way. And folks who are the independent contractors like being independent contractors.
Yeah.
They want that freedom. And so to say everyone's got to be an employee really robs people of their freedom to work how they want to work.
It certainly does. We wish you all the best with this coalition. We think it's important. Mike Johnston, Executive Vice President, Government Affairs and Workforce Development for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. Mike, good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you both.